Sponsor of Schaumburg High School's Alumni Club, I have the distinct honor of introducing this year's winner of this Distinguished Graduate Award. As teachers, parents, and students, we are all familiar with Erin's Law, the Illinois state law that mandates education about child sexual abuse prevention for teachers and students in grades K through 12. However, many of you may not know that the Erin behind Erin's Law is one of our own. In 2004, when she was a senior at Schaumburg High School, Erin Merryn published her personal diary as her first book, Stolen Innocence. In the 2 decades since publishing that book, Erin has not only published 4 more books, but she has also successfully advocated for the passage of Erin's Law in 38 states and Kerala, India. Illinois was the first state to pass the law in 2011, and it is currently pending in 12 additional states and Canada. Erin has appeared on numerous television shows, including Oprah, The Today Show, Good Morning America, CBS This Morning, NBC Nightly News, and hundreds of local television shows. She appeared on the TLC network documentary Breaking the Silence and has been featured in many print publications, such as the New York Times, USA Today, Time Magazine, People Magazine, and Glamour Magazine. Erin earned her bachelor's degree in social work in 2008 from Western Illinois University and would later be selected as the recipient of their Young Alumni Excellence Award in 2016. She also earned a master's degree in social work in 2009 at Aurora University. In 2010, Erin was named Newsmaker of the Year by the Daily Herald. Just 2 years later, she was named Woman of the Year by Glamour Magazine and received the Friend of Children Award by Prevent Child Abuse Illinois for her commitment to children to ensure they have safe, healthy, and loving environments. People Magazine named her to their list of Heroes Among Us and one of 15 women changing the world in 2013. And in 2014, she received both the Dr. Henry C. Lee Award for her work helping sexual assault survivors and the Champion of Children Award from the Children's Advocacy Center. In 2015, Erin watched from home as President Obama signed the federal version of Erin's Law, which provided federal funding for the implementation of Erin's Law in schools across the country. In addition to her many awards, the National Association of Social Workers selected Erin for their Outstanding Achievement Award in 2020. In 2023, she started the Erin's Law Foundation with the mission to educate and empower children and adults on the prevention and healing of child sexual abuse. Today, Erin is a spokesperson for the National Children's Alliance. When she is not testifying in front of legislators, Erin speaks to audiences at middle schools, high schools, and colleges across the country in an effort to give children a voice. She has spent 2 decades tirelessly advocating for the most vulnerable in our society, our children, and is truly deserving of this honor. So please join me in welcoming to the stage Schaumburg High School's 2024 Distinguished Graduate, Ms. Erin Merryn.
Spoken on more than 300 stages, and I think this is going to be my favorite. I'm having a full circle moment right now. When I began at Schaumburg High School 24 years ago, I had an amazing English teacher, some of you may know, named Carl Behrens. I walked into his class and eventually was given an assignment where we had to get up and give a speech. Well, most of the kids in my class were very nervous. I offered to go first. When I was done, Mr. Barron stood up and said, in my 30 years of teaching, I've never heard give someone such an incredible speech. I've never given someone an A+. Miss Erin, I think you should have a career in journalism or public speaking. What Mr. Behrens didn't know is there were things in my life I wasn't talking about. The trauma from my past abuse that I experienced. And it truly began haunting me the most when I was in high school. I was having nightmares, flashbacks, suffering from PTSD, anxiety, I couldn't sleep at night. And eventually by 10th grade, I attempted suicide. I didn't think life was worth living anymore. And as I said, I struggled academically, and eventually, my junior year, failed out of my algebra class. Well, I went to the school psychologist, Jeanette Ardell, and I said, I try and try and try. Is there any way you can help me? I don't know what else to do. Put forth all this effort, and I just continued to fail. So Jeanette told me, well, let's see if maybe possibly you have a learning disability. I spent a few weeks with her, she tested me, and come to find out, I did. I was given an IEP, accommodations were put in place, for example, extended time on tests. And soon I am now retaking Math Algebra 2 for a second time. But once again, I failed. And I had a wonderful teacher, Mr. Salentino, and as I knew I was coming into his class to have him sign my withdrawal slip because I failed again, I handed him another piece of paper. It was an application for McDonald's. And I told him I'm going to spend the rest of my life working at McDonald's because I cannot pass math. And he turned to me and he said, "That's not true, Erin. Math class is not going to stop you from being successful." And as I walked out the door, I turned back and I looked at him and said, "Come visit me in the drive-thru," as he giggled and laughed and shook his head at me. When I found out I was receiving this award, I had asked who was on this committee, teachers, and who is it? One of them, Mr. Salentino. He was right. An algebra class would not stop you from success. Well, after going to Ms. Ardell for academic help, I ended up starting to open up and create this bond with her and start telling her about the horrible things I was experiencing in my life. I suddenly was starting to have constant flashbacks, turning to self-harm in school, at home, because I couldn't get through what I had endured in my young childhood. Then there came the day where I was sitting in the classroom and once again having a horrible flashback of my past. Teacher had another teacher lead me down to the nurse's office. The nurse didn't know what to do with me, so she laid me and said, "Go sleep on one of those beds." Well, I was in this horrible moment, and eventually I came out of it when this woman was speaking to me. "Erin, you're okay. Open your eyes." I opened my eyes, and there's Miss Ardell once again, hugging me, telling me, "You're going to be okay." And I looked at her and said, "I don't want to live anymore. I don't want to be here. I can't continue to experience this." And she told me, "Erin, your life is worth living. You will get through this. I promise you." I left there and then spent a week in a psychiatric hospital. I soon was put on antidepressants, sleep medication. I was seeing an outside therapist. And that outside therapist saw all the anger and hatred I was harboring towards this relative that abused me. And she gave me an assignment. "Erin, why don't you get all your anger out, write a letter, and bring it back and read it to me?" And I thought that night, no, he needs to hear this. Well, I didn't realize by writing that letter and confronting him the path it would lead me to and letting go of the anger and hatred I had and leading to forgiveness. Well, as I moved forward with my life, forgiving, it was my therapist, Debbie, and Jeanette Ardell, that helped me see the voice that I had to be a voice for others. And just before graduating high school, I published my first book, Stolen Innocence. But still at that time, I struggled academically, and I'd sit there and tell Jeanette, "I'm never going to get into college. I'm a failure. I'll never become that social worker I want to be." And I got denied from every single college I applied to. There were no scholarships for kids like me who struggled. But she continued to push me along. "No, Erin," as I got once again another withdrawal, can't get accepted in. "Erin, this is not a dead end. This is just an obstacle that you will get through." And I still have that email to this day. And she was right. I ended up leaving here, leaving Schaumburg High School, going on to a community college where I finally got an A in that algebra class. It took leaving Schaumburg to do it. And 5 years after graduating from Schaumburg High School, I had received my master's in social work. And it was at that time in my life I realized I wanted to truly give kids the voice that I never had as a child. The voice that I finally found here because people believed in me, from teachers to a therapist to a school psychologist who most would give up on me, but she kept plugging away because she saw something I didn't see. And so that's when I decided to pursue Erin's Law, giving kids the voice that I never had as a child. I could continue to look back and let this be a negative thing in my life, but instead I decided to look forward and turn something painful into something positive and give children the voice that I never had. And when legislators tell me, "Oh, this will never get passed," I look at them and say, that's not an option. I'm somebody that doesn't go away, and I learned a long time ago in my high school years that failure is not an option, that as long as you continue to pursue the goals you have in your life, you can find success. And that is exactly what I have done over the course of the last 15 years, traveling from one state capital after another, testifying to legislators, telling them to give children a voice. All I'm asking for is 1 hour out of a school year to give kids the ability to speak up and tell instead of staying silent the way I have. And the great thing is, all of the students in here, since this law has been passed in Illinois, have all received this since kindergarten. Well, Erin's law is not just being passed here in Illinois. I've gotten it now passed in 38 states. And people often ask me, well, what is your mission after getting it passed in all 50 states? And it won't be flipping burgers. It's taking it international. And I've already begun that crusade and am currently about to pass it in Ontario, Canada. None of this would be possible had it not been for the people like Jeanette Ardell, Mr. Salentino, my therapist Debbie, opening up my eyes to realize that I had a purpose in life. As Debbie told me, or as Jeanette told me in that nurse's office that one day, that I had a reason to live, and I truly found that reason and that purpose in life to move forward. There were not scholarships for kids like me who wanted to go off to college but didn't have the grades to do it. And so today I'm here to tell you that starting in the next school year, I will be giving to one high school senior here at Schaumburg High School the Erin Merryn Scholarship. And this scholarship is not going to be based on what your GPA or what your ACT score is. No, this is going to be based on the students that want to show the ability to go out there and make a difference in the lives of others. Through charity work, through pursuing a career, maybe like the school psychologist, the therapist, or the educator, like the people in my life here at Schaumburg High School that made the difference to make me see past the dark and lead me into a light that I hope you students, because you will face struggles in your life, believe me, you will, but I hope hearing me today that you will see as someone who went down such a dark path, who couldn't talk about the darkest things in her life, has now stood on more than 300 stages and was able to turn pain into a purpose. I congratulate all of you, and I hope you nothing but success in your future endeavors. And I hope the message you take away today listening to me is that nothing is impossible. Thank you.
And congratulations, Erin. Welcome home. So in closing, I would like to congratulate all of the senior honorees. You have left your mark of distinction like